Rob's at a flour mill today in Cumbria. Rob.
Yeah, you know, Adrian, actually for my birthday this year, I actually got one of these things. It's a home bread making kit. Now, frankly, I was appalled. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I quickly changed my mind because there's nothing quite like the smell of freshly baked bread in the morning. And it turns out I'm not my own, because now apparently 1 in 10 households in the UK actually has a bread maker like this in the house. Now, we're in Silloth in Cumbria to have a look at one firm that's cashing in on that growing demand. They've been milling flour here since the 1860s. In fact, there's a museum on site to prove it. And 140 years on, Cars is still the biggest employer in Silloth. As a location, it can seem a bit remote and also a trifle windy. Those clouds over there, for example, are hanging over Scottish hills. That's the Solway Firth behind me, and we're right on the edge of Western Cumbria here. But that remoteness can have its advantages. The sea means that we can have right here a purpose-built dock built way back in the 1800s. And it means that wheat from all over the world can be brought direct to the mill. In its heyday, the factory employed around 200 people. That's gradually dwindled. Today, there are around 80 workers. But the company is still a vital part of the local economy.
Very important now. We're the only place in Silloth, really, factories now. Years ago, you go anywhere in Silloth for a job. Now you can't. All the factories have closed.
Oh, very important. Yeah, very important. It's a main employer in the town, you know, and, well, I think basically if Cars ever shuts down, then it's last block out, shut the door.
The company supplies flour for major bread makers, small craft bakers, and its big growth market is flour for home bread makers. Overall, it's a major operation. The thing about wheat is that it doesn't like to give up its flour easily. In fact, this crease is nature's way of making the job extremely difficult. If it was completely round, the whole process would be much easier. As a result, you need all this elaborate machinery, and in fact, these are possibly the funniest machines I've ever seen on work in lunch, and their job is simply to sift the flour. The company was one of the first to get into producing flour for home bread makers. Across the UK as a whole, the market is growing by 15% a year, but at Cars it's growing annually by 50%. And it's hoping the growing popularity of baking your own bread will bring even more business in the future. Well, I'm still something of an amateur in this game, but I've got a couple of experts with me. First of all, Duncan, let me just talk to you. I mentioned that, you know, I'm a recent convert, but are you not worried that this is just something of a fad? You know, people could get fed up with it really quickly, couldn't they?
I'm sure it's not a fad. As you say, 1 in 10 households now own a bread maker. Our research has shown that of the people who have bread makers and who bake bread, they bake 55% of those bake at least 2 loaves a week. And when you see the results, quality of bread like that, the amount of time it takes to bake a loaf like that, I'm sure it's not a fad. I think it's got a long way to go.
Now, you got into this market quite an early stage, but how does a company like this, with all due respect, quite small, 80 staff here in Silloth, you know, how do you keep capitalising on that market? You're not worried that you're going to get swamped by some of the bigger firms?
I think there's 2 very important things here. One is we really do believe in the product. I mean, a lot of us use bread makers, so we know how good a product you can achieve. The other thing is that we do believe that we are making the best flour that's available, and if you're making a really good product, I think you can cope with quite fierce competition.
Now, all your wheat I know is imported. Does that give you an advantage?
It's certainly an important part of the quality of the product we're producing. Because we're situated where we are, we tend to import wheat, and some of the better quality wheats tend to be imported. So, yeah, from Canada, North America, Germany, there's some good wheats, and that's an important part of the quality of our flour.
And Susan, you're something of a wheat expert, aren't you? And I just thought wheat was wheat, but apparently it's not. Tell me about some of the types you got here.
And we've got various types here. As you can see, they're all different sizes, shapes, colours, from all over the world. What we're looking for in the wheat is quality for bread making.
What's the difference between, say, that German one there and down here?
Right, well, the German one's obviously a European wheat. The ones at this end of the table are American wheats, very hard, very high protein, very flinty, recognised worldwide as being optimum for bread making.
And what kind of year has it been? I mean, we've had an incredible summer in Europe. What kind of year has it been for the wheat harvest?
Well, it's been a very good harvest, very good quality, but low yield.
Does that mean that bread prices are going to go up?
I'm afraid so.
So, Duncan, will you be able to put your bread prices up then? Your wheat prices, rather?
Bread and flour prices are increasing. Yeah, right now prices in supermarkets are going up.
That'd be good news for you, I guess.
Yes and no. I mean, we're only passing on cost increases that we've had to incur. We'd rather not be in that position, but yeah, that's what we've had to do.
So how do you go about developing this market then? What are you planning to do next?
In terms of developing the market, the most important thing for us to do is to actually convert or get those people who didn't get good results from their bread maker to get the bread maker out of the cupboard, give it one more bash. People don't realise that actually flour is what counts, and better flour makes better bread. So we want to keep preaching that message and hopefully broadening the distribution of our product.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Duncan. Well, Christmas not too far away. A lot of people might be getting these bread makers in their Christmas stocking. Hope you enjoyed as much as I have.